Welcome to Okaloosa Eye on Crime. This month we're going to need your help solving a murder investigation, a convenience store robbery, and a fatal hit and run, and there's much more, so we want to get started.
And first up is that convenience store robbery. A Destin business was robbed at gunpoint during the early morning hours of October 20th, and the Okaloosa County Sheriff's Office is hoping somebody can identify the two men responsible. Now, deputies were called to the Texaco store at 201 Harbor Boulevard shortly before 1 a.m. after receiving a call of an armed robbery. The clerk says the two men came in. One approached the counter with a gun, demanded money. They did get some cash before running out the door and heading west. Both suspects are described as short, slim black males between the ages of 20 and 25, and they both were wearing a mask and baseball caps, but you can see their photos there. Anybody who might recognize them or have information about this robbery, contact Emerald Coast Crime Stoppers or the Okaloosa County Sheriff's Office.
Next up, the Crestview Police Department's asking for information about a murder that took place in the area of 249 West Bowers Avenue the afternoon of August 25th. The victim was 46-year-old Jerry Jerome Aaron Sr., and he was shot and killed just before 3:30. So anybody with information on that, please contact the Crestview PD at 682-2055 or contact Emerald Coast Crime Stoppers anonymously.
And the Florida Highway Patrol is investigating the October 20th fatal hit-and-run crash over in Santa Rosa Beach that left one cyclist dead. It was about 7 p.m. near the intersection of US 98 at Don Bishop Road. The suspect collided with a cyclist, left the scene of the crash. Suspect vehicle is described as a light in color SUV, van, or crossover with possible front or front right damage located low on the vehicle. Now, there were at least 2 witnesses in other vehicles that were near the crash, and the Florida Highway Patrol is asking for anyone that may have any information to contact them. You can contact Star FHP, or of course you can submit anonymous tips to Emerald Coast Crime Stoppers.
Moving now to the Niceville Police Department, they're still searching for a person reported missing 5 years ago. It's Jacob Irvin Lyon. They followed up on dozens of leads, all of which have been fruitless. Jacob was last seen November 2nd, 2015 in Niceville. His family and his acquaintances have had no contact with him since. At the time he went missing, Jacob was 19 years old, 5'8", and weighed roughly 135 pounds. He's got hazel eyes and brown hair, and he also has a scar on the left side of his chin, as well as a speech impediment with R's. Jacob had an injury to his left arm that causes him to not be able to fully extend it. If you have any information on Jacob's whereabouts, please contact the Niceville PD at 729-4030 or Emerald Coast Crime Stoppers.
And the Okaloosa County Sheriff's Office is investigating a home invasion robbery that took place on the early morning recently at a home in Holt, west of Crestview. The victim went outside his residence on Belgium Run around 5 a.m. to investigate a noise, was confronted by an armed man wearing a blue mask, baseball hat, black hoodie, blue jeans, and white shoes. Now, the man pointed the gun at the victim, forced him back inside, where he then stole several items, including medication. The victim says he cooperated due to there being 3 children asleep inside the home. But as the robber fled in a dark-colored mid-2000s year American-made 4-door sedan with silver door handles, he fired several shots at the vehicle, which could have bullet holes as a result. So luckily no one was injured during the crime, but the robber is described as a white male, about 5'9" tall and 180 pounds. So anybody that may have information, very scary situation, of course, you can contact Emerald Coast Crime Stoppers.
Next up, the Crestview Police Department is still trying to identify the man that robbed the Hancock Whitney Bank located at 2541 South Furdon on September 11th. The suspect pictured below passed a note to a teller demanding money and then departed the bank walking north towards Redstone Avenue. Any information on that? You know who to call.
Pretty good photos there too, so hopefully somebody will recognize him.
And next up, the Okaloosa County Sheriff's Office is one of the first agencies in the country to implement a new Motorola Solutions 911 pilot program, and that allows citizens to send video, photographs, and recordings directly to dispatchers in the communications unit via cell phones. Pretty cool. Just with a few clicks, dispatchers can send the 911 caller a link, and then they can provide secure video or images up to that controlled environment.
911, what is the address of the emergency? Sir, did you have a video or a picture of the incident that you'd like to provide for me? All right, bear with me just a moment. I'm going to send you a link. Are you live streaming, sir, or did you need to send a photo? And it's uploading your photo for me. I've received your photo. Thank you very much. Did you have a live stream you wanted to share with me as well? Okay. And I'm receiving your live stream now, sir.
Citizen input is a very beneficial program provided by Motorola in an ever-changing world where technology is very, very critical to our first responders. Citizen input allows citizens to send streaming video or images to our 911 call takers in a controlled environment in real time, so we can see what they're seeing. It could be used in a number of circumstances. Just for example, someone is lost. Lots of times it's very, very difficult, or somebody is having lost and not able to relay where they are. They can turn on their phone, they can either take a picture of themselves, streaming video of themselves, or their surroundings. We can say, pan your phone, show us what you're looking at so we can see and assist you where you are. If someone witnesses a crime of any time, a hit and run, a bank robbery, anything of that nature where witness accounts would be beneficial to our law enforcement officers, they can immediately send that information to us on 911. It will go into a vault. We have real-time access for all of our sworn law enforcement supervisors, so all a dispatcher will have to say is, we have video available for you, and a deputy will be able to immediately look into that information and see what the caller is providing to the 911 operator. It's basically a few extra clicks for the dispatcher to be able to receive this valuable information. We are so very excited to be able to offer this to the citizens. We believe it's going to be a great help.
If you want to find out more information about this new system, you can go to motorolasolutions.com/software.
Now, next up, we're going to go to our first list of wanted folks that we're hoping maybe you can help us find. And of course, these are all wanted as of today's taping date, which is October 26th, 2020. So first up is a new face, Joseph Jamal Davenport. He's 29. He's being sought for fleeing and eluding law enforcement with disregard for safety to persons or property, last known to live on Allen Drive in Fort Walton Beach.
Robert Allen Hickok was last known to live on Highway 20 in Freeport. He's 42 years old and he's wanted for an order revoking his bond and failure to register as a sexual offender.
27-year-old Brennan Dickison is being sought for burglary, criminal mischief, grand theft of a firearm, as well as dealing in stolen property.
No photo available on this next individual, but it's Ronald Lee Corbin. He's wanted for failure to register as a sexual offender, so another one of those.
And we do have a photo for Ernest Goodman. He's being sought by the Crestview Police Department for trafficking in methamphetamine, last known to live on Bethany Drive up in Crestview.
Next individual last known to live over in Navarre, it's Donald Joe Mitchell, and he's wanted for DUI and driving with a license that's suspended or revoked.
49-year-old Tad Keith Bowers, and he's being sought for violation of probation on the original charge of child neglect.
James Ryan Knudsen, 31, wanted for use of a two-way communication device to facilitate a felony and smuggling contraband into a detention facility. Knudsen's last known address was in Pensacola.
Walton County deputies are searching for Robert Wayne Maxwell for threats, extortion, and cyberstalking, last known to also live in Pensacola.
Tiffany Nicole Key is wanted for larceny.
Next up is Anthony Michael Frodely. He's 28. He's being sought for violation of probation for grand theft, trafficking in stolen property, and providing false information to a pawnbroker, last known to live over in Fort Walton Beach.
This is Alyssa Victoria Hibberts. Hibberts was wanted for violation of probation for child neglect, as well as possession of cocaine.
James Clinton Brinkley Jr. is being sought for violation of probation for battery.
Joseph Lee Fairchild, 34 years old, wanted for VOP for aggravated assault.
And Okaloosa deputies are still looking for Rameshia Hatcher. She's 27, and she's being sought for violation of probation for grand theft.
And last on this list, David Allen Bobbitt, 43 years old. Bobbitt is wanted for fraud.
Now, the Okaloosa County Sheriff's Office K-9 unit hosts the United States Police K-9 Association Narcotics Certification mini-trials for approximately 3 dozen agencies from across Northwest Florida and South Alabama.
That's a mouthful.
Guys, yes, sir. You know the game. Yes, sir. Coach.
We got a narcotics mini trial for the USPCA here today. We got about 35 teams represented from all over the Panhandle and Southwest Alabama. Everybody here is certifying for their annual membership and certification for narcotics to be able to testify in court that their dog can in fact find marijuana, cocaine, crack, heroin, and meth for those dogs that still own marijuana. Here recently, with the changes in some case law and state law, most of our new dogs were not training to find marijuana. So a lot of these dogs here today, actually about half of these dogs here today, won't certify on marijuana. It does have a time limit. There's 3 rooms with 2 hides. You have a 10-minute time window for the rooms. And then we have 5 cars with 2 hides with an 8-minute window outside.
I know, it's exciting. We're excited.
With the amount of overdoses that we experience on a daily basis, these dogs are an invaluable tool to help us eradicate the drugs in this area.
And we are happy to report that all of the OCSO teams passed and are good to go.
And the only one that didn't have to do it was K9 Sky, because K9 Sky is an explosives detection K9. Next up, I'm going to show you some interesting video. The Okaloosa County Sheriff's Office dive team helped recently locate and prepare a car to be pulled up out of the Cinco Bayou after a teenage driver went into the water. Thankfully, there was a boat nearby that was able to pull that teen out of the car before it sank, and the FHP is handling that investigation. But take a look.
I have to live 13 miles away from the line, which puts me all over, but I like to be.
And now we're moving to our second list of wanted folks that are hiding from law enforcement. If you have any information, of course, you can contact Emerald Coast Crime Stoppers, tip line website, emeraldcoastcrimestoppers.com, or the P3 mobile tips app. And first up is Regina Daniels. She's 41 and she's being sought for violation of probation for possession of methamphetamine, last known to live on Hudson Drive in Crestview.
Cadell Lamar Carson's wanted for aggravated battery, last known address Ajax Drive in Fort Walton Beach.
And this one's been on the show for a while. That's 48-year-old Clayton Copeland. He is wanted for violation of probation for providing false information to a pawnbroker as well as grand theft of a motor vehicle, last known to live in Destin.
Corretta James, she's wanted for failure to appear for grand theft and fraud.
Walton County deputies are still searching for Devynn Jordan for felony violation of probation. He was last known to live up in Defuniak Springs.
Leon Leslie Chandler's last known address was on Ashley Lane in Fort Walton Beach. Chandler's wanted for VOP on driving with a license suspended or revoked, possession of a weapon or ammo by a convicted felon.
33-year-old Blake Elliott Gundred, he's being sought for violation of probation for grand theft, trafficking in stolen property, and providing false information to a pawnbroker.
Andrew Allen Costlow. Costlow's wanted for VOP on an original charge of grand theft of a firearm.
Joshua Alexander Bates, last known address of on Alabama Avenue in Fort Walton Beach. He is wanted for uttering a forged instrument and violation of probation for driving while license suspended or revoked, as well as possession of drug paraphernalia.
And this next individual has been on here for a while as well. Anjali Rochelle Johnson. Johnson's wanted for aggravated battery and last known to live on Mixon Road in Defuniak Springs.
Next up is 37-year-old William George Ryding Jr. He is being sought for counterfeiting.
Michelle Renee Ryding is wanted for felony violation of probation.
37-year-old Kevin Wayne Lastrap, hopefully I'm saying that right, he's wanted for failure to register as a sexual offender.
And Aja Marie Nathan wanted for failure to appear for vehicle theft. Nathan's last known address was in Fort Walton Beach.
This is another one that's been on the show for a while. That's 27-year-old Reginald Muse. He is wanted for violation of probation for grand theft, burglary, and aggravated stalking.
And contact Emerald Coast Crime Stoppers if you know where to find Mary Elizabeth Gibson. Gibson's wanted for VOP for leaving the scene of a crash with injuries. Last known to live on Silva Drive in Fort Walton Beach.
Last up on this list is Lucas Lorenzo Williams. He's being sought for armed robbery, an armed robbery that occurred on October 27th back in 2016 in Defuniak Springs. I know Walton County's been looking for him for a while. Now, Hurricane Sally's up to 2 feet of rainfall in Okaloosa County and heavy wave action led to battered beaches, major flooding, and power outages. But thankfully, and most importantly, no loss of life.
Shalimar Point Boulevard of Champions. This, as you can see, is totally underwater and has been breached going into Lake Lorraine.
We want to give out kudos to all the first responders in the region who worked before, during, and after to protect and serve the residents. And also a special shout out to our communications unit at the Okaloosa County Sheriff's Office. They handled 16,000 254 phone calls between September 14th and the 20th, and that included 2,333 911 calls.
Wow, that's a lot.
Yeah, for sure.
And finally, our last list of wanted fugitives, and that's going to start with 46-year-old Richard Earl Grisby. He's being sought for violation of probation for battery, last known to live on Hospital Drive in Crestview.
Timothy James Howard is still on here. He's wanted for larceny, resisting an officer in recovery of stolen property, and failure to appear for fraud. Last known address was Bearhead Road in Defuniak Springs.
And 50-year-old George Monroe Emmerich II, another familiar face to the show, he is being sought for violation of probation for domestic violence, strangulation, and aggravated battery.
Alexis Wilmer Mondragon is out there somewhere. He's wanted by the Okaloosa County Sheriff's Office for sexual battery, sexual offenses against a child, and lewd and lascivious molestation.
Next up, and that's Misty Nolan Johnson, but she has been located thanks to a tip. So thank you to the tipster that called in that one.
Still searching for Daniel Lewis Davis. Davis is wanted for VOP for burglary. Last known address was in Crestview.
We're still searching for 39-year-old Roderick James Rutterson Jr. He's being sought for possession of synthetic narcotics within 1,000 feet of a school, as well as failure to appear for driving while license suspended or revoked. Last known to live on Mooney Road in Fort Walton Beach.
Samuel Edward Thomas III's last known address was in Shalimar. He's wanted for VOP on charges of providing false information to a pawnbroker, false imprisonment, and grand theft.
And Walton County deputies are searching for 48-year-old James Anthony Williams for violation of probation for possession of a controlled substance, possession of marijuana, as well as possession of drug paraphernalia.
43-year-old Tishawn Coward Sr. wanted for driving with a license suspended or revoked and non-payment of child support.
50-year-old Stephen Charles Briley, last known to live in Fort Walton Beach. He's wanted for violation of probation for grand theft, as well as uttering a forged instrument.
And this next individual's out there somewhere too. If somebody knows where to find Lethia Garcia, she's wanted for fraud for swindling a 77-year-old by using fake letters from charitable organizations. Last known address was in Fort Walton Beach.
Next up is 50-year-old Tony Wayne Poland. He's being sought for failure to appear for criminal mischief, burglary, and theft.
Kendrick Cordell Boxey wanted for violation of probation for child neglect.
Next up is David William Armstrong, who's being sought for violation of probation for fraud, uttering a forged instrument, and grand theft.
We don't have a photo for Angel Lewis Trowery, but if you know where he's located, he is wanted by the Crestview Police Department for aggravated stalking.
23-year-old Cole Rutledge Graninger, he's being sought for violation of probation for aggravated stalking as well as burglary.
Jairese Emmanuel Griffin wanted for burglary with assault and battery. Last known address, Woodham Avenue in Fort Walton Beach.
35-year-old Joshua Clayton Owens, he's wanted for order revoking bond and possession of a controlled substance, last known to live on Birch Street in Fort Walton Beach.
All right, let's see what I can do with this name. Tiklirage Dawit Asifa. No photo available. 32-year-old wanted for child abuse. Last known address, Pocahontas Drive in Fort Walton Beach.
Now, OCSO investigator Jessica Trimboli has a passion for helping children. Her work with the local Drug Endangered Children program caught the attention of Sesame Street and communities.
In fact, Jessica was asked to take part in a national webinar on parental addiction, responding with care.
So the idea is if we can identify drug endangered children, that we can help them. In the DEC program, the Drug Endangered Children program, it's children plus drugs equals risk, and everybody can agree to that. So it doesn't mean that the kids are taking the drugs or that the parents are giving the children drugs. It just means that they're around them so they're exposed.
OCSO investigator Jessica Trimboli is a passionate advocate for children and board member of the Drug Endangered Children's Alliance. It involves partnerships with all the different agencies and resources who can step in to help a child who's at risk due to parental, caregiver, or family member drug addiction.
The idea is that we don't just go to a scene to make an arrest or not make an arrest. The idea is to help. And most of us want that. But with the resources of DEC, we can do that a lot better.
And help for those children due to the addiction explosion is badly needed.
It's extremely significant. So here in Okaloosa County, just since COVID hit, the overdoses have been far worse. A lot of these kids think it's normal for their parents to use drugs and to be high and to be under the influence of many things. And then the kids just find it normal. So they go to school and don't understand why their parent is like that.
Investigator Trimboli's dedication to the mission of helping drug-endangered children recently brought her a request to take part in a national training webinar on the subject of parental addiction responding with care, sponsored by Sesame Street in Communities.
So for the Sesame Street program, so the National Drug Endangered Children Alliance, they're based out of Colorado. They reached out to me because they came and taught us the training program and taught us how to be trainers for the program. And they just liked the passion that I had behind it. I like to give them updates constantly on what we're doing in Okaloosa County, and they felt, I guess, that my passion was influential. So they asked me to be that law enforcement side. So the Sesame Street wanted to find out what resources there were out there for sort of law enforcement in communities and things like that. But our side was a boots on the ground side. So the side that's actually touching and seeing and feeling these people versus from standing on top of a building with research-based stuff, we're actually doing the things that they're researching.
Law enforcement frequently encounters these children at overdose and other calls, and the Sheriff's Office school resource officers also provide trained sets of eyes to identify kids at risk so help can be provided.
Our school resource officers are trained up on deck. We do that every year. We update them with a refresher. So I think that if you see something, just say something, like we constantly hammer into people out there. See something, say something in regards to drugs, in regards to abuse, in regards to anything related to children.
And such a great job by Investigator Trimboli. We're expecting a lot more big things from her in the years to come.
Absolutely. And that's going to wrap up this month's show, but we want to thank you for joining us, and we will see you next month.